Okay. Ooh, where are we at here? All right. Did not confirm my mic was set up. It is. It is the microphone. Alrighty then. All right. Let's see what we got here. All right. So I am on a hell of a personal journey. I am launching a dating app, and in doing so, I want to establish a personal brand. So, what does that take? From what I'm learning, being out in the world and telling everyone on the internet what you do, the intent of what you're doing, and try to be interesting and authentically yourself. Considering how authentically myself I tend to be, this should be fairly easy. All I gotta do is talk to people, tell them what I'm doing, and hope it lands. So, this evening on Father's Day, June 15th, Sunday, I am working on Start With Me, preparing to build some features into an item. I can just tell you. I am building the events business page for event hosts for when they create a profile or an account on our platform so that they can host singles events to the individual singles that are inside the dating app. I'm not going to post this on Start With Me. I'm going to post this on my personal brand because this is my personal time. This is behind the scenes. So I'm sitting here with a glass of port because I love port. I have a real sweet tooth. So I sit here and I sip. Well, I sit here and I build and I work. So I'm updating the database, building a business object, and I am connecting it to the users so that they can sign up for an individual event company and belong to their specific database and not so much Start With Me. Because people are afraid of dating apps nowadays. Everyone hates them. And I understand that because they suck. But it's also one of the reasons why I'm building what I'm building so that we don't have to deal with those dating apps. So, which is coincidental. Today, this thought has been in my brain all day today. Today is Father's Day. I'm alone. My son's with his mom for her birthday in Hawaii. Lucky. Don't blame him. Understand. But I've spent a lot of time reflecting. Father's Day is a day where you get celebrated for being a dad. Being a dad is the thing that saved me from killing myself. I had a gun loaded, ready to go, and I was asking myself those final questions after a divorce that put me into a deep suicidal spin. And as I was sitting there asking myself, is this really something I want to do? And this is the first time in my entire life that I fully understand how dark depression is. Because I've never believed anyone could get to the point of killing themselves. I just thought it was a weak man's way out. And I got to a point where I felt it. And holy crap, did I feel it. I was ready to pull the trigger. So I had a gun loaded. I was sitting there asking myself those questions. Am I ready? Is this really what I want to do? And this thought process hit me in the back of my head. Or this thing I heard once. A statistic. Whether it's true or not, or whether my brain made it up, I have no idea. I haven't bothered to validate it because it was so fruitful for me. But the idea was, if you kill yourself, you give your children a 30 to 40% chance of doing the same thing, or you increase their chance of doing it because you have proven to them that it is a acceptable way out of the pain. And crap, did that ring in my head. And then I thought, okay, what do I want for my son? I don't want that. I don't want him to think that's an option. I want him to fight through it. I want him to be a warrior. So I put it away. And I, at that point, made my turn. I started saying, you know what? What is it going to take to fix this? What is it going to take to pull me out of this depressive hole and give a sense of purpose to my life? I had no idea. So that resulted in me reaching out to the VA, going through some therapy, doing a whole bunch of self-discovery and understanding, which took a lot of work, and it was not an easy task to do. But I started going through and learning about who I was and what was going on and why I was making the decisions I was making and where I was and how my entire life fell apart because my wife left me at the time. I lost my job. I stopped performing at work. I had a startup that quickly ran out of money and never completed the product. I ended up getting booted, half because I wasn't there, but half of a conflict issue. But I was not mentally involved in anything that I was doing anymore in my life. My entire foundation of who I was fell apart. I was broken. And I had to start finding myself again. So I started doing it. It probably took about 2 years before I started getting to a point where I was like, okay, what am I doing with myself? I was just trying to get by at that moment. I was doing everything I could because every time I stood up, I'd stumble and fall over again. And life was depressing, and I'd have to remind myself that I'm doing this for the right reasons, and I'm not going to puss out of this, and I need to do it. And I just would stumble and fall, stumble and fall, stumble and fall, stumble and fall, get drunk, black out for the day. It got pretty bad. But I worked my way out of it, and I had phenomenal strides. And after about 2 years, I was like, you know what? I'm ready to start dating. So I started dating again. And I saw a vast level of people who were broken because they were all my age. So people my age, when I hit the dating pool, every single conversation, I think it was the first 40 conversations I had with people were, why are you broken? Why'd your marriage end? What happened? Are you the problem? Are they the problem? I was like, oh my God. And you kind of get curious at a certain point. You're like, well, what was it with you? What was it you? You start trauma bonding and relating. And it helped a lot, but it very quickly turned a lot of things off. But then when I started meeting people, I kept getting these comments like, you're my healing goals. Like, you're what I want to be. And I'm like, I'm not anything except for confident with who I am and what I want now. And I had this realization. I've always been really confident prior to all these things, but I was ignorantly confident. I just believed in myself more than anyone else did. And after understanding myself more, I started realizing, or I started getting all these comments, and I started dating, and I was like, I don't really want to get involved in this stuff. And it was harsh. I ended up meeting one woman, and we ended up started dating, and she is the reason I was able to pull myself all the way out of my depression. She changed my life and healed me. And the shitty part is I probably treated her like crap in comparison to what she deserved. She was there for me when no one else was, and she helped heal me without realizing. And the more and more I fell in love with her, the more and more I got scared and ran away. Oh man, it was bad. I broke up with her a couple times. I came back because I knew she was amazing and in love with her. And finally, after the third time I did it, I realized that I have to go away and fix some things because I'm not going to survive if I continue doing this. But at this point, I was already several months into the concept that Start With Me was a reasonable idea to build. And it originally evolved from the question of, how do you convince millions of people to do mental health work when the content, the information in order to do that work has been around for 20, 40, 60 years in some cases? Psychology's been around for a long time, and we've known a lot about human behavior and stuff. But it wasn't until I spent the time to truly understand myself that I really started seeing great strides in who I was, what I wanted, my ability to communicate. The ability to communicate what I want and what I desire vastly changed how my day-to-day behavior went. And I was utterly impressed with how little it actually took to change these key pillars that kind of really leaned me in the right direction. So I started asking myself that question. I ended up running away from my ex because I was falling in love with her, and I was scared to truly love again. I was broken, and I fucked it all up. It hurts, but I've accepted it. I've moved on. She is done with me. And for her, I'm sorry you had to deal with it, but thank you because you saved me. You pulled me completely out of where I needed to be. Not by doing the work, but just by being healed on your own right, because I know you went through a lot of stuff. She was already healed by the time she showed up, so I think she recognized some stuff in me. And I'm sorry that I ran away. But we are where we're at now. After I ran away the third time, I said, you know what, I need to fix things. So I sat down and I concentrated purely on myself. I stopped going out. I stopped socializing. All I did was start integrating and building Start With Me. Now, Start With Me originally came from the idea, came from all of this pain, but I asked myself the idea, like, how do you help so many people when the information's been around? It's available. Nobody's just using it, or nobody's really piling it up into the right places or making a preemptive state of information. Because once I knew what I know now, my marriage would have never failed. Hands down, would not have. If it did, would have not been any reason close to the reasons it did fail. But none of my relationships other than that would have failed either. Where was I going with this? Sorry. But I asked myself, what does it take to convince so many people? And as I was trying to date again and seeing how many people were all busted up over things, and I had a couple conversations with a few people, it kind of turned into like this weird self-help therapy. And I am not a therapist. I am just an emotional man who drags his knuckles and likes to fight, build, and invent things. Like, I'm very creative. I love building. I've always wanted to be an inventor, and I don't think I realized that until I was an adult. And I don't think I realized over years I've actually obtained all the skills to do that. That's the best part. Software engineer, designer, artist, like nerd, tech, costumes, cartoons. I'm into everything. But I put these two concepts together one day, the realization, I think the universe gave it to me in this weird way. But I came up with the concept of tying self-work to love and sex. Because these conversations I was having during these dates were turning into these therapy sessions. And these therapy sessions were helpful for some of these people. Like, they weren't really therapy sessions. They were just conversations that opened up their eyes and perspectives and caused them to go back and actually do some deep pondering on their own. They asked themselves questions. They kind of looked up concepts. They looked up why they were making the choices they were doing. And after a little bit of research, they started deriving all these answers. And they very quickly changed their lives around in a few years. Some of them, I still talk to them. They're great friends now. We didn't connect emotionally, but they have literally changed their entire lives based off of these small self-assessments that they kind of went through and just said, you know what? I do need to make some changes. And that's when I realized the concept of tying self-work / mental help. I can't say mental help because I'm not a psychologist, but I want to bring in the experts who are so that it can be, because it's all self-work. So tying into love and sex is the motivation. So I took that concept and I said, you know what? If I was to tie self-work to this, how can I bring the attention to people so that they have the level of self-awareness that their marriages will never fail? Not because there were problems or they couldn't fix the problems, because, like, if the marriage fails, it's not because of the issues, it's because they just lost the love and they were able to communicate that figure it out and all that stuff. So my intent is to architect this entire company out, which I have spent about a year or so going around and interviewing people. I've interviewed about I want to say it's close to 300 women, about 200 men. I interviewed about 300 women, 200 men, and had a lot of conversations about this stuff. I went around to VC events and I started pitching the concept and the idea, and I came up with this overall architecture to roadmap people into doing self-work through a journey of entertainment but connected to love. And that's where I came up with the concept of Start With Me. So now I'm working on executing on all of that. And part of this is me going to explain my story 1.5 million times over in order to become a public persona so that I can try to further my cause. So I built Start With Me. Right now in my life, I am 100% dedicated to this cause. I am bootstrapped the company. We have, as of this morning, we have 499 users on the platform. We just onboarded a database of about 400. We had about 150 already on the platform. Now that I think about it, that's because some of the event, there were some people who were already on there. So after those two things combined, we get about 500 people on the platform roughly now, which is phenomenal. Because it's still just a concept. I am literally building this thing as I go. And as of right now, there is a personal self-discovery journey that I took out of my own personal journey. I went through and asked myself, what is the minimum amount of work that has to be done in order to see the greatest amount of change? And I came up with a couple really boiled down concepts. Obviously, you have to understand yourself a lot better. But I chose to hit these 5 points or so. So just to hash what those are out. Emotional intelligence, I ask you to measure it. This way you have an understanding and knowing that it is a skill set. Emotional intelligence is just a matter of knowledge and exposure to information. So knowing that means you know that it can be changed and raised. I'm pretty sure my dog's tearing up something that's supposed to be. Emotional intelligence is something you can learn. It's a skill set. It's a knowledge. It's an exposure to emotions, understanding what is healthy response and what is not a healthy response, and then executing it, and then understanding and learning how to categorize those emotions. And once you understand that, you have a different level of empathy on other people and yourself. One, you have a realization that you're not emotionally intelligent if you score lowly. If you do score high, it kind of brings a little bit of attention to the fact. You say, okay, you know what? I am more in tune than I realized. Then you move on to another self-administered psychology exam to measure your attachment style. And the reason for this one, it gives you an idea of how you emotionally handle conflicts. The concept comes from the way you bond with your parents growing up, but that translates through a whole bunch of smart psychology things, translates to how you choose to behave in emotional conflicts in your relationships. And having an understanding of that, at the very least, will give you and your partner, at the very least will give you and your partner the ability to say, hey, you know what? Emotions got hard. You ran away. I now actually understand why you ran away. It's frustrating, hard to deal with because I don't deal with running away emotions. I address my emotions head on. But knowing that that's how you handle it and you're not ready to get there, because just because you have an attachment style doesn't mean you're stuck with it. You can learn to grow. But having the ability to move towards it requires you to identify it. So it gives you an understanding of how you connect with other people. So then the next point was understanding the why behind the choices you make, or at least how you make your choices. So I went with personality types. Once you understand your personality type, you have a better understanding of why you're making the choices you're making. So, for example, I have always been a very extroverted person. I didn't realize that I had a level of introvert to me that required distance from people. But also, as I've gotten older and as I went through all of my emotional pain, I've definitely grown heavier into the introverted side. So now I'm probably more equally extroverted and introverted. And what that tells me for myself and my own learning is that I love to socialize, but at a certain point, my gas tank runs out and I want to leave. Whether I'm having a blast or not, if my tank is out, I'm out. And I never understood that as a kid or growing up. I would always just be like, you know what? I'm going to hang out. I'm going to stick through it. I'm going to do it. And that didn't always work out well. But now I have a better understanding of that. And then you can kind of, the next thing in that label or measurement is like understanding whether you're an intuitive decider. Do you make your decisions based off of intuition and emotions, or do you base your decisions off of logical information? But this is the kind of stuff that you kind of get from understanding your personality types. When you understand that you make your decisions through emotions, you can lean in heavier on that and say, you know what? All right, I've collected all of the information that I have and need so far. What do I do with it? Okay, my internals tell me what the answer is instead of me going, logical this, logical that, and then making my decision anyway at the last minute. But it helps you make these decisions, help you understand things. Or at the very least, if you don't like that you do that, gives you a better understanding that that's how you do lean and you can make the changes you want. The whole point is to bring an awareness to yourself so that when you have this understanding and you know why you're making the decisions you're doing, nobody can mess with you. Nobody can convince you or push you in these other directions because you have an understanding of who you are. And when you have an understanding of who you are, it results in such a level of confidence that you become unfuckable with. And you don't have to be this perfect, amazing person to be unfuckable with. You have to be confident in understanding who you are and where you are. Just understand where you're at. If you understand where you are, whether you like it or not, or you're proud of it, not proud of it, it doesn't matter. As long as you know where you are. Because then, once you have that measurement, that gauge, that understanding, you now have the ability to shift. You can change and say, you know what? I don't like this part about me. I do like this part about me. Okay, all right. I know I do that. I'm sorry. I'm working on that behavior, trying to change that habit. And then you can make these choices. And then the big last portion, or the last pivotal piece that I chose to utilize was understanding your love language. Why understand your love language? Because when you understand what makes you feel loved, you can, one, have a level of empathy towards other people when they give you attention or affection. You can say, hey, you know what? You're not giving me the attention and affection I want because I don't care about gifts. My love language is quality time. So if you're not spending the time with me, then I'm not getting the fulfillment that I want or need, right? But maybe there's this gift, and you don't give gifts because you're quality time. You're like, God, this person is supposed to spend all their time with me. But give me like a thing that you're thinking about. Think about the stuff that are deep to me. Like, show up with something like that. It's my birthday. What are you going to show up with? A cake? Oh, cool. Yay. You know what I mean? Like, going typical Valentine's Day gifts. Cards, flowers, chocolates. Oh, really thoughtful. Really thought that one out, didn't you? But that's a perfect example. Some people like that stuff. Some people don't. But the whole idea and thought process is if you understand these aspects of how you're showing up, you understand emotional intelligence is a learnable skill and you can grow. Okay, you're not limited. Wherever you are, it's great. Attachment style. Okay, emotional conflict comes up. How do I respond? Do I snap quick, blah, like, am I calm, collected? Okay, how do I figure out what I do? All right. Personality types. Now I understand why I'm making decisions that I make. All right, I'm a bit more extroverted than I realized. So maybe I've been feeling down in the dumps, low energy, and I need to make this decision. Let me go get inspired and ramped up. All right, let me go have a social outing. Boom, out with your friends. Boom, happy. Walking home, next thing you know, all your answers are just show up in your subconscious. You're like, oh, wow, I really needed that. Love languages. So now you can reflect how you feel towards other people or how other people make you feel. And the best part of this entire thing in concentrating on the only thing you actually have control over, if we just concentrate on ourselves, we don't have to worry about what anyone else is doing. We're confident, we understand who we are, we understand where we are, and we say, you know what? All right, that's where you're at. You now understand other people on a whole new level. Okay, well, their emotional intelligence is not up to par. So that response that they have, or the fact that they have no idea how to handle this, makes so much more sense. Okay, they ran away because there was a conflict, or wow, emotional conflict. They really get anxious. They are really stressing out. They are an anxious attachment. That's good to know. Now I understand why my anxiety ramps their anxiety up because we're both anxious. You know what I mean? Like you have these connection and understanding of other people. And because all of this is based off of psychological foundational information, you can't argue it. It's not hip hop. Well, you can argue it. That's the whole point. The fact that it's psychology, it has a whole scientific method. If you don't agree with it, go argue with it. Go create the studies. Go study the concept. It's not like, hey, I watched a YouTube video and it said attachment style is baloney. It's like, okay, well, we got 60 years of psychology. I'm not a psychologist. I just took this as a very minimum foundational journey to show that this is a concept that works. And now I have built the dating app. The journey's there. I'm trying to get people onto the platform, trying to get them to go through the journey. And as I'm doing this and validating the concept, I'm running around trying to find psychologists, dating coaches, therapists of all these different levels and skill sets. Bring them on board and say, hey, I need to create, I'm calling them the angels of love. Because they're all people oriented who have chosen career paths aimed at connecting people in love or healing people, which is love, in my opinion, anyway. But you have love for people. But bringing them all together and saying, hey, you know what? We have a massive pool of information. I've created a journey that allows us to entertainingly connect people, gives people a reason to be there, and we can expose them to information as a bare minimum in order to raise the standard in dating. And then as I started processing all of this out, there were so many different aspects that I kept coming up with and realizing. Like society is a 50-50. We're online and in person. If we don't have dating apps and interaction structures that are oriented to deal with that, we're not going to mesh in with the day-to-day. Right? And then singles apps. I found out that only 1% of society are meeting people on dating apps. 1%. You got Tinder over here with like 79 million users worldwide, and we're still touching like 1 to 10% of this population. That's insane. But that means there are so many people that this could possibly be effective for. And I started flushing it all out and started building this thing, and I've now made the dating app available in the dating store. I ended up joining an event singles company in order to start building the in-person aspect of this dating app. The bare minimum of the journey is in place. Don't get me wrong. I know it could be better, but this is to validate the concept. This is to then say, hey, you know what? I have brought it all together. I've started building the field. Now come, please, please come to the baseball field, right? I want you, it's a whole build it and they will come concept. I did validate it. I did do a lot of research. I did plan this entire thing out. I spent about a year researching and mapping and planning and flushing out and trying to understand financial and revenue models. How do I provide value and help without having to fall into this VC squeeze the user for the pennies? Like, how do we give back to society? How do we have this altruistic capabilities? How do we do all of this and then build an architecture that helps give back? And I came up with Start With Me. It is, well, I'm trying to get it categorized as a mental health dating app because that's the intent, is you're doing self-work before you hit the dating pool. Nothing crazy, nothing insane, just an exposure of information. Because I've never met another human on this planet. Like, I've never met anyone who didn't learn about themselves and say, you know what? I like being this way. I'm just going to stay. A couple times you see people who do that, but it's not a matter of I want to stay. It's like, hey, I'm not ready to deal with that right now. So I'm going to stay where I'm at until I am. And usually they'll find another perspective to work on. But the people are always growing and learning. This whole growth mindset is like natural human. It's marketing material because you're getting more people. But at the same time, it's like I've never known anyone who doesn't grow on a consistent basis. So an exposure to information is the idea. Is we say, hey, you're exposed to a new level of minimum information. The intent that school and high school was given to us for was to expose you to the information before going to society, so you have an understanding of what the past was like, how to work in society, information, like, hey, can you do math? Can you read? Raise the standards and you have a better society. So instead of relying and waiting on anyone else to do it, I saw the opportunity. I flushed out a concept that I truly believe will change the world. And I said, you know what? I've actually obtained all of the skills to build this. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm a software engineer, a designer, advertising art director. Well, I got a degree. I never used it in the industry, but I have an understanding of the concept. Worked in EMT. I have been obsessed with psychology stuff for my own personal growth, but just because human behavior intrigues me. Back when I did bodyguard work, I would spend time working on understanding speech recognition patterns, tonal ranges, fluctuations, micro expressions of the human body, like all of these, just the way humans behave is just super intriguing to me. And I got pretty nerdy about this stuff. And I love this stuff. This topic matter is super intriguing to me. Sometimes I wish I did take a psychologist route to give me the foundational information, because then I could stand there and talk with this with like a credibility to it. But I didn't do that. I ADD'd my way through the world following whatever interest and passion my little heart desired, and I just went for it. I've always been that way. And I don't really see a reason to change it, because now I'm here. I went through a lot of pain, and I took what I've learned and what I've grown into and said, hey, you know what? Maybe this can help people. Let's see what we can do. So I started building it. And now I am trying to get the awareness. And that is what I'm doing right now with this. I'm starting a personal brand. And the question is what kind of brand do I want? Who do I want to be seen as? You know what? I live my everyday life accepting confidently who I am. So I'm just going to do that. I also want to be an inventor. My intent after this, I invented this concept. I invented the structure, the flow. I'm building it out. I'm bringing people in to handle it. Bringing people in to be part of it, for it to grow. And then eventually I'll step off and do some fun inventing stuff. I have some hardware devices and cool toys and stuff I want to build. I also have like several other companies that I just really want to build. But I need funding for all of that. And currently I don't have funding. So I am bootstrapping my way into building Start With Me. This is going to be my life dedication, is to build this entire Start With Me organization, because this thing is a lot bigger than just the dating app. So several relationship apps, a breakup app. It's aimed and intended to fuel a mental health company in the long run. And I have massive plans that eventually will make some serious changes in this world if I can make it work. So I'm working on making it work. And I have no idea what to do. I keep starting and stopping. I want to get this stuff, so I need to start just outputting stuff. I'm going to take the Gary Vee approach. And who is this other guy I've been listening to? This gent. Oh, I got to bring up this YouTube video I've been listening to. Caleb Ralston. He is one of the guys that made Gary Vee and then the Hormozis big. He helped build their content strategy, and he's built this company. And look up his video if you are interested in any of it, How to Build a Brand. Caleb Ralston. And the reason I'm going authentic about it is because I love the whole Gary Vee approach. I am me. I'm just going to be me. If I don't have to worry about being anything other than me, then it's one less stressor. I don't like to lie. I like to be straightforward. And if people have problems, I talk about them. Like, if I did something stupid, please tell me. I'll fix it. I don't want to do stupid things. Well, I'll do stupid things for fun, but I don't want to hurt people while I do it. So I'm building this entire thing out from scratch, but I've gotten this far. I have a dating app. It's in the Apple Store. It's in the Play Store. It's available on the web. I have joined a singles event company, and I'm now hosting singles events with an integration in the app. And then I'm building out a dashboard software management that allows people and anyone else to throw singles events. I want people like Events and Adventures to be able to come in and host their events in here. Anyone throwing singles events in their area, or even wanting to throw them, can create an account, start the dashboard, start throwing events, connect with local venues, and build singles events. If we can build more singles events across the world, we can bring more people together. All of that will also be fueled by Start With Me and its software. And then that will bring more people onto the platform. That will increase the user base. That will also increase the standards awareness, because in order to start matching, even in-person events or in the regular dating pool, you have to complete your psychology-based self-discovery journey. Now, what I have in there now is just a bare minimum to validate the concept and show that it's interesting and that people are interested in it. And my intent is to build an entire core team of specialists and psychologists to connect with psychology organizations and have conversations and build partnerships so that, one, we can flesh out the content and make it the most valuable that we could possibly do. Get it at least knee to waist deep in self-awareness work so that by the time you do go seek some therapy, if you need it, you are already primed. You are ready to get some real effective change going in your life, right? And all we have to do is bring awareness. And at the very least, just imagine when you get into a conversation, you're setting new standards. This is one thing I love about this whole journey. Like, imagine this. You're going through a journey. You learn about yourself. You understand yourself from all these different concepts. You understand emotional intelligence is a learnable skill. You understand your attachment style and how you handle conflict. You understand your personality types and why you're making choices. And then you understand what makes you feel loved. Now you enter a conversation with somebody and they know all of that bare minimum stuff too. Your conversation thereon is going to be completely different. We also need to teach the concept not to lose yourself when you get into these relationships, but that's another thing that just needs to get addressed. I have millions of things that I think would be worth it, and then we'll bring in real psychologists to actually build this stuff out. And I just realized how dark my screen is getting. So, clearly it's getting dark here. But I'm building this out and I want people to help. I need to bring in an audience. I need to bring in people. I need to garnish support. I need to get people's buy-ins and get a confirmation that this is worth pursuing. Right now, I am doing it all out of pocket. I am barely getting by, but I'm not worried because it is going to be worth it. In the long run, this will change the world. I believe if this takes off the way I've planned it to, and we can get the full buy-in from people, we could lower the divorce rate in 5 years by like 10%. And it's not because all of a sudden everyone's more emotionally intelligent. Well, I guess supposedly it is. Actually, that would be kind of the whole intent. Wow. Everyone would be far more emotionally intelligent, but they'll be self-aware. And they'll have a bare minimum. And they'll have all of this information exposed to them before they go and have these conflicts. They'll understand how to build desire and love and how to really make their partner feel supported and loved and how to communicate it if it doesn't do that, how to set boundaries and withdraw, how to reestablish boundaries, how to give consent and withdraw consent, how to communicate on a level that we just are not really accustomed to. And there's a lot going on, and I need to refine my messaging by getting this out here. But you know what? I'm going to do that by just telling the story over and over. My mission, aim, I'm connecting with some dating coaches and psychologists. We're going to set up some podcast episodes. We're going to start talking, and this is going to be my behind the scenes. This is my personal side of it. This is going to be me expressing who I am while I build out this adventure. Right now, in the current state of things, I am building out events because we host an event in 2 weeks. A little less than, about 2 weeks. Here in Santa Rosa, where everyone will be on the dating app to sign up for the event. They'll be approved for the event. They'll pay for the event, and then they'll arrive to the event. And then after the event, they'll hop back in the dating app, and they'll do their matches on the app. And why is it that way? Because you remove the need to exchange this contact information, to go ask somebody for their phone numbers. You remove all that weird uncomfortableness, and now you give them the ability to connect after the fact. But on top of it, you're also getting everyone who does go in and attend the chance to go through this self-discovery journey. I'm going to record this more. We'll see how this goes. This is going to be really intriguing because I am committing to it. Today's Father's Day, June 15th, 8:25 p.m. Holy moly, I didn't realize it was so late. And this is the start of building my personal brand. Holy moly. I guess I'm going to try to become a public figure now. That's going to be interesting. So I'm going to create content. I love being creative and doing things, so that'll be fun. The only biggest problem I'm going to have is time restraints. Building this, organizing this, preparing events, doing all of this stuff, it's a big, heavy workload. And then on top of it, I'm a father. I have a 7-year-old that takes priority above anything and everything. So I make sure that I'm really in the now with him, and I don't want to lose my connection with him because I'm dedicating myself to this mission. So I make sure that when I'm with him, I'm concentrating on that. Problem with that is it slows down work. So once this thing starts rolling in some funds, I'll be able to start delegating work, and that will be massively more effective because there is so many things I could be running way more faster, bringing way more people in, getting more of this refined and built out. But it is what it is. So I'm running with it. I'm grinding for it, and I'm going to work on changing the world. And I hope you guys are intrigued by my own personal story and decide that it is worth following along or supporting. Right? I think, yeah, it should be good. All right. I'm going to sign off, go back to work.